Mm. You're right. Am I live again, or is this a recording? I think you need to go to sleep. How? Who could possibly tell? Does it matter? Do we care? I'll be honest, I'm kind of amazed as many people, you know, are still coming in as there are. And here I thought we were done. I mean, we. Yeah, I did say see you, didn't I? Yeah. And here you are. So I have done. Strictly speaking, if I say see you, that just means that sometime between now and before the end of the universe, I will see it. Well, you know, and I think I've been proven to be right. I wouldn't want to. You calling me a liar? I was trying to find something to watch or play at least. You know. No, nothing. No. Excuse you. Excuse me. I never asked. I never asked to be excused. Yeah. So, did I belch? I don't even fucking know. See, that's how little attention I'm paying here. Just waiting for your edible to kick in. Right. What am I? What am I like? The fucking? Am I like the? Am I like some sort of like methadone to keep you tide you over until you fucking? I've never even heard that one. Okay, I'm going to hit random on this song playlist, and whichever song this is going to be the theme song for 2021.
Hi everyone.
Oh, brilliant! An advert.
We'll start the year right with this delicious frittata. It's packed with veggies and my...
Oh, for fuck's sake, piss off. Oh, there you go. I don't know what to make of this one. Whatever happened to the spin doctors? They did fuck all after this, didn't they? Yeah. I mean, I could just look it up, but I don't, I don't really care. Yeah. I'm assuming they both died of dysentery or something like that, You got cancer or something. I'd rather have something. I'll take the mystery box. I'll take my chances with something. Something better than cancer. Well, it depends. I mean, you don't know. I mean, cancer's survivable. It might not be that. You could get what's worse than what's worse than cancer? I don't know. Or what would make it more? I don't know. Yeah. Being gang raped by a load of shy horses. I mean, that would be, peripheral neuropathy. Yeah, right. If you've got, people with cancer get to go to Disneyland for for free, and they get to like meet John Cena or something like that. I don't, what do I get? Fuck all. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, statistically, I mean, if you say that something could literally be anything in the world, or it's just a disease or something that's better or worse than cancer, then statistically, yes, there ain't many, unless it's something like, you know, or it could be a type of cancer no one's ever, like cancer of the wig, or, you know, or the aura, you know. What you mean? I have to be Ben Shapiro's wife, or I have to, you know, can remain but be cancer, you know. Yeah. Liberia in the 80s. No. I mean, everywhere was mental in the 80s, you know. Well, how do you know they were weird if you weren't around? Maybe you should have been. I don't think you'd have helped. You know, I think it's definitely the gayest decade on record. I mean, that's why George Michael didn't come out till 1994. He was impossible to tell in the 80s, you know. Well, some of it was good weird. I mean, not all of it, you know. Wham did not suck. Thank you very much. Yeah. That is like, whoever's told you that is lying. Yeah. And it was only George who sucked, in all fairness. Yeah. Andrew is still around. That's why. Not that you'd notice. I remember that was one of the fun. That was. I remember looking that up many years ago. I was just curious. I was like, whatever happened to Andrew Ridgeley? And I looked it up, and one of the things he like sort of just took his money and, you know, retired or whatever. But he went to live in Cornwall, and he set up. He set up this like organisation that was like to like keep the beaches cleaned. Beaches to keep the beaches and the sea clean, and it was called Surfers Against Sewage. But when I read it, they only used the acronym. So it said Andrew Ridgeley now lives in Cornwall, where he runs the Cornish division of the SAS. And I was like, that's a fucking, hold on. I'm like, that's a radical fucking career shift, going from Wham to fucking. And then I read on and I was like, it's a Surfers Against Sewage, right? Yeah. And that was just, which, you know, just pissed me off. I'm like, that's the fucking worst news I've ever. I was all geared up to fucking, you know, and excited about the idea of living in a world where fucking Andrew Ridgeley is now in charge of the SAS, you know. What's trending on Twitter? Oh, fucking hell. Delphine is trending. Oh, Christ, I'm not fucking watching. You know. GTA 6. Viagra is trending. You know. Insomnia, yeah. And Bruce Willis, right, okay. Are any of these things connected? Okay, Wednesday motivation. What kind of loser needs to be fucking motivated by a tweet? And why Wednesday? Why does Wednesday require motivation? What's so fucking, you know? Dude, Twitter's a dumpster fire, full stop. It's just fucking, you know. Just to start being specific about the ways it's a dumpster fire, it just doesn't do, is a disservice to dumpster fires and Twitter. Bruce Willis is trending. Oh no, something to do with Die Hard. Oh no, it's Bruce Willis is being an anti-masker. Fucking brilliant. Okay, Uganda is trending. Okay, that's McConnell. Okay, English COVID is trending. Why the English COVID? What has he got, a monocle and a fucking, you know, in a wingback chair? Oh no, English COVID rules. English COVID rules have changed 64 times since March, have they? Okay, Soviet Union is yes, English. Maybe that's what it is. English COVID rule, like O'Doyle. Yeah. Kelly Clarkson is trending. She must have died. I don't think she's got anything new coming out. No, apparently she has. Okay. I love how most of the trending topics in music and entertainment are in fucking Korean. Can you spread COVID-19 if you get the vaccine? Well, I would hope not. What, you mean on purpose? I mean, what's the fucking point? Oh, there's no fun anymore, you know. Okay, you can't get COVID via sex. You know, you just need someone to breathe in your face. So, you know, just face the other, just, you know, up the arse is the only way you can do it, you know. Every adult will be offered a vaccine by autumn. Really? Autumn? Wow, that's only like most of the year away. What about all sex? I don't fucking know. To be honest, anyone who's in that position, it's like, you know, you've got that's on you. I've got fucking other problems to figure it. You know, if that's on the list of fucking problems that are vital for, you know, that are important in your life, then, you know, life ain't too frigging bad for you, is it? You know, it just depends on what's more important to you: getting a blowjob, you know, or not getting COVID. You know. No one came out of a new thing. You know, yeah, Bruce Willis was. I don't know if he's an anti-masker. He was asked to leave a store because he refused to put a mask on. That might not. That doesn't necessarily mean he's an anti-masker. It just might mean he didn't have one, and he. How to get a blowjob without getting COVID-19. Come on, where's some fucking news? Right. Oh, what a surprise. Michael Tracy is being a dick. Mitch McConnell has backed impeachment. Wow. Fucking hell. When Moscow cocaine Mitch turns on you. Jesus Christ, it's been 6 years since Charlie Hebdo. What's going to be interesting is literally the day after, like, you know, the day after, like, the Joe Biden's inauguration. You know how, like, you know, barely anyone in the Republicans acknowledges or mentioned George Bush after he'd left office. Like, you wait, you watch how they fucking, you know, Trump, who? Don't, oh God, him. Oh God, I bet I've forgotten all about him. You know, you watch these fuckers get chronic amnesia the fucking day after Biden swore in. What do I think of BMX? I don't have an opinion, to be honest. I mean, I don't ride one. I mean, I've got nothing, you know, I've got no strong feelings either way. I mean, you know, that's your jam, buddy. I mean, it's well, to be fair, let's not, you know, Trump's still got 9 days. I mean, he can fuck up a lot in 9 days. That geezer, you know. What do I think about DMX? You know, he was a rapper, wasn't he? Yeah. I think that should answer your question. Has anyone ever been impeached twice? Has any president ever been that shit? Well, at least he's got that. You know, there's something for him to, you know, for what it's worth. There you go, Donald. You're the first. To be honest, Gandhi wasn't in a position to be impeached. Anything else? Yeah. Nope. Fuck all. Nothing. Yeah, you don't need another one of them. You don't get a pension. You know, hasn't Trump not been getting paid though? Isn't one wasn't one of I mean, I seem to remember at the start of his presidency, like he sort of like he wasn't going to be because the idea like because it was sort of like a PR move and a bit of a flex saying, oh, you know, I'm already loaded. I don't need to get the petty cash that this fucking job, you know. I know Arnold Schwarzenegger did that, you know. He claims to donate. He probably does to his to this charity called DJ Trump Cash Quick Enterprises. when you look at his entire family, it's like this is the opposite of eugenics. You know, it's like whatever, like, whatever selective, breeding of superior races, they're the opposite of that. I don't know what the opposite of eugenics is, where you try. It's not a huge paycheck. Don't worry, he hasn't exactly. I think he's probably done as little as possible to fucking. Is there any paycheck that geezer fucking? Could he have done, less work? I mean, I shouldn't complain. The less he fucking does, the fucking. Right. Well, that's not right. Okay. Well, that's not. That's obviously not what I'm talking about. You know what I mean. You know. No, just the Trump family. That's it. Yeah. Can you? Can we not sit here? And, it was quite obvious. I was just having a dig at the fact that they all look like mutants. Here's a funny story. Apparently the website Gab went down because they had this. Something went wrong with the website, and people were clicking on the link. Clicking on a link to the website on people's Twitter profiles, and it was logging them into that person's site, that person's account. Fucking hell! How the fuck does that happen? You hear stuff like that, and you think, you know what? As shit as for all this shit we give Twitter and Facebook, that's never happened. That wouldn't happen to them, would it? Apparently, before it went down, there was a 70 terabyte hack of all users' posts and messages and addresses on Parler. Oh God, I hope so. Do I know who did it? No, don't care. Hopefully, hopefully it was the Russians, just for a laugh. It's nice to see the Russians aren't playing favourites. My God, there are still people There are still people that trust the plan. Nancy Pelosi is being arrested this very moment, and Trump is going. Can you imagine? You know, I feel, you know, it's at the point now. I can't even. I just cannot help but. All I have is just pity for anybody who at this stage still thinks, like, who genuinely thinks that Trump, you know, who they're that scared of just accepting that they've been fucking rinsed for the last 4 years. I'm not saying you have to feel, you know, look, it doesn't matter, you know. I'm not saying, I'm not, you know, it doesn't mean anything. I'm just saying that, you know, for someone to be this, I mean, for someone to be that, you know, deluded or in the tank, it's like you're, it's like you're, you know, it's like this is why the fucking, this is why the, you know, most of the grifters are on the right. You know, they haven't got a monopoly on it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you can't, you know, you don't get I'm not saying you don't get gullible ring nuts on the left. You certainly do, but they are not as in plentiful supply. You know. I don't think necessarily being stupid. It's like it's delusion. It's deluded. I mean, you can be out of touch with reality and not stupid. You know, a lot of it is self denial. You know, which is a powerful fucking tool. You know. Yeah, take it from someone who was a drug addict. You know, there's no greater practitioners of self delusion or like, you know, or rationalizing your own fucking piss poor choices when deep down you know better. We the people will remove anyone not named Trump from the White House. Would it be hilarious if everyone changed their name to Trump just to fuck with this guy, this one geezer? On fucking. Yeah, well, be grateful. You don't see what you know. Be grateful you don't. You know. The only viable option is the mass sterilization of all Democrats to prevent them from reproducing. I love how these people think that people are born Democrats. Like, if two Democrats and a Democrat have a baby, like does a Republican, if a Republican and a Democrat have a baby, do they have a centrist? Yeah, I'm sure that's a great comfort to them, more. But I don't, you know, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be a powerful negotiation or bargaining chip. No offence, you know. Ted Cruz's communication director resigns over his role in his... God, imagine that job. You're his director, Ted Cruz's director of communications. And you've managed to maintain your sanity until now. You're like, no, fuck it. That is the only time, that is the one thing that Trump, you know, that Trump did that I actually was like okay with, and that was any time he publicly, you know, emasculated and humiliated Ted Cruz. That is the only time I have been completely and utterly, you know, behind him. You know, that is the... And if that's you know, and if that's all he had ever done from, you know, from now till the end of time, I could live with it, you know. Just every day, just do nothing but emasculate Ted Cruz and remind him that he's your bitch. No, but that's when you knew he was full of shit. Then that was fucking him. But you know, but you knew that he just, you know, the thing with Ted Cruz was real, because Ted Cruz tried to act like a sort of, you know, like he's like, because you know, Trump literally was just fucking insulting and slagging off his wife. And so Ted was like, you come near me, Donald, I swear you're going to get a knuckle sandwich, and no mistake, my friend. You know. Yeah, but Jeb Bush was fucking, you know. I mean, to be fair, he sort of technically, simply by winning, he humiliated everyone on that fucking thing. But with Cruz, it was extra fucking, you know. Plus, because it's Ted Cruz, you know. Yeah, the only good thing I can say about Ted Cruz is he's one of these people who he looks like exactly what he is. He's a slimy, smarmy, weaselly fucking prick, and he looks exactly like you would imagine. like if you were to if you'd never heard of Ted Cruz or knew nothing about him, and they just showed you his face, you're like, that guy looks like a fucking slimy little shit. And you know, and then there's nothing more satisfying when you see someone who turns out to be exactly what they look like, because it means you don't have to change your initial knee-jerk prejudice that you had, you know. It's also quite funny. PragerU have been tweeting about how many followers they've lost, and then someone said, "I'm sorry you've lost so many Nazis, you know, Nazi followers." And then they replied to it going, "Oh yeah, Nazis love Dennis Prager." And we're like, "Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry if this is news to you, mate." But yeah, yeah. I mean, not that it matters, because obviously you don't care, because, you know. I'm not saying Nazis love Dennis Prager, but what I'm saying is Nazis are, clearly find him useful, or they at least have, they feel that his content is somewhat more relatable to them, you know. Well, that's the irony, is that the Republicans are, the right wing are generally the people who are against things like affirmative action, and yet the second anybody who is representative of a group that is, that is not what an old white dude, old straight white dude, they push that motherfucker right near the front. Oh, you're a black guy? Oh, we'll push you right to the front. Go, look, see, we've got three. That's three black people. Are you gay? Oh, there you go, to the front. Oh, you're a woman? There you go, up the front. Oh, yeah. And if all you want to do is to just make money, then I can totally understand why you would go to the right if you're part of those groups, because let's face it. I mean, if Milo Yiannopoulos was left wing, I mean, he'd have competition. We got loads of fucking, we got we've got gays coming out of our arse, fucking, over here. He'd have to actually, he'd have to compete on a fucking, playing field with people with actual talent, Carl Benjamin was never on the list. What do you mean Carl Benjamin? What minority group does Carl Benjamin represent? What, fat geezers from Sweden? From Swindon? Swindon. He's not representative of it, I mean, the thing is, though, that whole sort of like, the thing is, people like Rubin and Sagan, they've kind of worn that one thin. That's going to be you can't really. I mean, Rubin at least, has got, you can see that he was actually at, you know, you know. But they do that thing now, because now there are certain sort of political positions that now people on the right are sort of begrudgingly accepting. Like they say, like, I'm in favour of gay marriage. I'm like, dude, being in favour of gay marriage 15 years ago was a progressive. It's not a fucking, that's now, that's just, it's done now. You can't make the argument against it anymore. Or they'll say something like, I'm against, I believe in global warming. I'm like, wow, like, this is a fucking, like, you're supposed to be fucking impressed by this. Or like, or they'll say, I'm against the death penalty, which is like, these are, they take the most easiest, least resistance fucking positions, Yeah, I mean, Rubin. The thing about Rubin is he's smart enough to know he's how stupid he is, but boy is he fucking. I mean, his, you know, there's a reason. I mean, there's a reason why I never made it. You know, I only made it 2 chapters and 1 paragraph into his book before I fucking could not carry on. It is, you know, it is just. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They take these positions where that they think sound progressive, but they're not progressive anymore. You know, they're not. You know, because they were progressive once. You know, and people have just given up trying to fight them. You know, because there's no point. You know. You know, or even when and Sargon and Reuben both do this. But they'll say that I'm pro-choice, but there'll be a huge caveat there. They'll say I'm pro-choice, but begrudgingly. You know, I think Sargon once said abortion is a necessary evil. I'm like, what the fuck is evil? What do you mean it's a necessary evil? You know. Well, it's the joke Jerry Sanders used to do. He goes. The problem with conservatives, they always make the same argument. As soon as you start, whatever policy you're talking about, you're going, oh, so where's the money going to come from? Where's the? It's all very well you're going to pay for this, but where's the money? It's going to come from you, you bastard. Also, you're going to tax everyone out of the country. No, just you, specifically you. We're all coming round to your fucking house. My KY jelly, his jump leads your bollocks. Oh god, I thought David Attenborough was dead then. The sun? Are you joking? Right? This is the Midlands. I mean, it probably would be if the cloud was, if the sky wasn't thick with grey clouds, as it always is in the Midlands. It's always nice watching the gradual, because I remember there was I can remember a time when it was like when Ruben started, and there were channels that were like making videos about him, and they would and you would always get you knew you were going to get a lot of fucking thumbs down or people fucking, but now that just doesn't happen. Even even Dave Rubin's subreddit turned against him, and it's just full of like. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, that's got to be the end, isn't it? I mean, that's probably the nail in the coffin, isn't it? Right? When your own subreddit turns against you, and becomes nothing more than a fucking, an anti, a place dedicated to fucking, slagging you off, Gotta go. But see you later, mate. I think that was probably, you know, I think the Joe Rogan interview with Dave Rubin was one of the big sort of turning points for him. Well, it's the fact that it's not even conflicting things. It's the fact that Dave Rubin just doesn't have. There's nothing that, like, he's not a smart. He's not. He's a really, you know, he's really basic. I mean, he doesn't even know how to make. He can't even, you know. I mean, there are some people who are good at making, you know, very simple, tired arguments sound new, but he can't even do that. You know. Yeah, I mean that alone. I mean, just break that down. His obsession with talking about, I'm into ideas. I'm like, we're all into ideas, you fucking idiot. That's all we do. All we do is make videos talking about what we think. That's what you might as well just say. Do you know what I'm into? Stuff. I like stuff and things. You know, that's what you might as well be saying. You know. Do you know what I like? I like words. I like, you know, sounds. When people open their mouth and sounds come out, and they form sentences. I mean, that's what you might as well be saying. We're all discussing ideas. You know. You know, like when he went on, you know, it's like then I remember when he sort of, he was going on tour with Jordan Peterson doing like a, and I was like, okay, that's fair enough, whatever. And then you find out actually, the show structure was Dave Rubin did 15 minutes, and then Peterson did an hour and a half. I'm like, what do you mean only 15? You've got 15 minutes. That's all you've got. You've only got 15 fucking minutes of material, and you're calling that a two-handed, and you're putting yourself on the same billing as the geezer who's doing an hour and a half after you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to watch, you know, I don't want Dave Rubin to be on stage longer than I wouldn't want to, you know, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But I mean. But it's like, Christ almighty, it's like, how can you only have 15 minutes of fucking material? You know. There's a really good, I mean, there's a podcast I listened to called Candlehand that did the best sort of breakdown of Jordan Peterson, and the best sort of analysis and sort of breakdown of everything he did. Anyone who wants to sort of like, if you want sort of like a 30-minute kind of like, this is how it works, you know. I don't think his meat diet's the problem as much as he's fucking the fact he Motherfucker ended up in rehab. Yeah. I'm not taking fucking. I'm not letting some. He's writing these books called Rules for Life. Like, motherfucker, you can't even get off. You can't even get off the fucking. You're a junkie who had to go to rehab. You know, and I'm supposed to fucking take rules from you. I didn't need that. You know, what does that say about me? Yeah, with that as well. Yeah. I don't know. You know.
This episode of Canada Land is brought to you by a mattress company,
Hold on.
but not the this own agenda. And
Yeah.
this episode predominantly FreshBooks economy, where people invoice me, they use FreshBooks, and we use FreshBooks. Everything is compatible, and everything is running much, much better.
Oh shit! Hold on.
This episode of Canada Land.
Hold on. Shit! I nearly had it.
I'm get your act together sort of thing.
Come on, fucking God! This time, the fucking
Get your act together sort of thing. Well,
predominantly FreshBooks economy, where people invoice me, they use FreshBooks, and we use FreshBooks. Everything is compatible.
Yeah, but saying at least he's not Stefan Molyneux, it's not much of a bar, is it?
Industry standard. It is stupidly simple to use. It gets you paid much, much quicker. You can link it to your bank account and anything else. It is just growing in
This pretty much nails it.
toolkit, in its functionality, and its compatibility with other things. It is becoming more and more powerful, but they have found in their new redesign a way to keep it as simple to use as ever, as it can do more things than ever before. Freelancers, entrepreneurs, try this. You may think that you have the invoice thing covered because you are able to make an invoice. Hey, who isn't?
In the immortal words of George W. Bush, the problem with the French is they have no word for entrepreneur.
You are not necessarily aware of all of the efficiencies and all the ways that this is going to make your life easier. It costs you nothing to give it a whirl for 30 days. You don't even need a credit card when you go to freshbooks.ca/CanadaLand. But if you do decide to stick with it, as so many people do, over 5 million in the world, tell them that Canada Land sent you, and you will be doing this show a favor. That's freshbooks.ca/CanadaLand. Tell them Canada Land sent you.
This is Jordan Peterson.
And one last thing before we start the show. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, we will be launching a brand new regular podcast. We have not breathed a word about this. I am not telling you now what this podcast is, but we will put the first episode on the Canada Land feed, and that will be coming out tomorrow. Check it out. Here's the media math of Jordan Peterson. Here is how Jordan Peterson works. He is teed up to an audience as a controversial figure, somebody dangerous, somebody who is out there ruffling feathers, somebody who is hated.
University of Toronto psychology professor Jordan Peterson has a fight on his hands.
The Canadian psychology professor is somebody people love or love to hate.
So this is good drama as far as intros go. You have tension and high stakes baked into the segment before the guest even appears. Who is this monster we're about to see who has everyone so upset? And then cut to a very normal, very calm, very serious and scholarly looking fellow. He speaks clearly and concisely. Typically he'll begin by
5
saying
to 8 in the morning.
Entirely reasonable things that are very hard to argue with.
you help people understand why it's necessary and important for them to grow up and adopt responsibility. Why that isn't a shake your finger and get your act together sort of thing. Why it's more like a delineation of the kind of destiny that makes life worth living.
Pretty soon thereafter, he is challenged. The host or another guest comes on strong. They take a shot at him.
No,
or a
he
series
doesn't
of
sound
shots
like
at him.
Kermit the Frog.
Why
See, now this is,
are you against
there,
the...
There are two. There are two ways. Two descriptions for his voice. He sounds like a middle-aged version of Morty from Rick and Morty. Yeah. Or he sounds like Kermit the Frog doing an impression of Eddie Murphy doing his impression of Bill Cosby. If you got the guy who played Kermit the Frog to do the Eddie Murphy's Bill Cosby routine, that's what it would sound like. You know.
Of alternate pronouns.
Richard Spencer wears he's a white supremacist. He wears the Pepe symbol. It's become adopted. I'm sure you know this by the far right. And here you are holding up a flag like it's a joke.
Peterson, do you have any comments on the Nazi presence at your protest? But do you agree that it's unfair? If you're a woman...
Not necessarily.
And on average, you're getting paid 9% less than a man. That's not fair, is it?
It depends on why it's happening.
His accusers look frustrated, worked up and upset. He looks perfectly calm, very tolerant, maybe a bit exhausted to have to explain to these tantruming children, yet again, something so simple.
What I said at the beginning was that I was not going to cede the linguistic territory to radical leftists, regardless of whether or not it was put in law. Well, I've probably had my photo taken with 5,000 or 6,000 people in the last
No, but this
year,
is
so.
with the Pepe flag.
I am not an advocate of violence. I'm speaking out the way I'm speaking out because I think this is a route to no violence. You don't think we should talk to people on the right? I talk to people who want to talk to me. I'm only a provocateur insofar as when I say what I believe to be true, it's provocative.
There's like a judo effect.
That's literally what
he takes the aggressive momentum of his attackers and with a quick sidestep and an effortless flip of his pinky, uses it against them. As they lie on the ground, dazed, with stars and Tweety birds circling their heads, he proceeds to drop some logic. Stern, reasonable-seeming dad stuff.
Because you're competing with other people. You know, they're smart, they're hardworking, and if you want to be at the top, you have to be smarter and work harder than any of them. One of the common routes to extreme unhappiness is to want children and not have them. I wouldn't recommend that.
Then we just repeat the cycle. And the host, or the guest, the other panelist he's pitted against, they seem certain that this whole reasonable thing is just an act. That what he's saying is a smokescreen.
It's not
some hidden Jordan Peterson agenda that they can
He's
draw
explaining
out,
how he
and
works.
then Peterson swats them away again. Now, occasionally this goes really well for Peterson, and his interrogator is left just stammering and blathering, and their own agenda and bias is totally exposed in their failed attempt to expose his. And those are the clips that go viral. Most notably, his recent Channel 4 interview in the UK with Kathy Newman, which has over 5 million views, which leveled Peterson up to like a whole new tier of fame and book sales. As far as academics go, Jordan B. Peterson is now very, very famous. Recent New York Times editorial wondered if he might be the most influential public intellectual in the Western world right now. So to start with today, let's have a look at how that happened. 2 years ago, Jordan Peterson was pretty obscure. He was a psychology professor at the University of Toronto who gave long, thinking out loud lectures tackling the big questions of life, drawing from Freud, the Bible, etc. At some point, he started posting them to YouTube. They sounded like this.
Even the term id, which actually means it, originates from Nietzsche. The dynamic concept of mind with the notions of mental energy, quanta of latent or inhibited energy, or release of energy, or transfer from one drive to another. As it's possible to do that reduction, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to leave the other phenomena floating in the air because they can't be pinned down.
He prepared them.
Now, this is a subjective thing. It's a matter of opinion and different people's voices and their charm and charisma. You know, different people find that in different people. But I think it's fair to say he was not the kind of flamboyant and charismatic professor who you would think was destined for international fame. But then, as the legend goes, something happened. Jordan Peterson took a principled stand and refused to do something that nobody had ever actually asked him to do.
What a bloke.
But it was something that he could hypothetically be asked to do in the future, and though he has said that, you know, if he were asked politely by somebody to do it, he probably would just do it. However, if, again, hypothetically, he was asked by an authority to do it, he wouldn't do it. Never. And that thing that he would never do, if an authority asked him to, is to refer to people by their chosen pronouns. His defiant stand against this hypothetical request caught the eye of, I think, first the University of Toronto's Varsity newspaper, and then it was actually former Canadaland reporter Sean Craig who wrote about it for the National Post in a story that blew up pretty far and wide, and with it blew up the controversy around Bill C-16, which was not really a very controversial piece of legislation beforehand, since all it does is add gender identity and gender expression to the list of things that you can't discriminate on the basis of. At the risk of opening up that whole controversy again, but with the need to summarize it, I'll say this. Peterson's big issue with that bill is that he believed that if it became a law, it would force him, compelled speech, he would be forced to use gender-neutral pronouns. And I mean, what I want to say about that is just that remains a very shaky idea basically the Holocaust. At best. And I'm actually being very generous to his position and saying that it's a shaky idea and not just wrong. There are a lot of people who've analyzed this legislation and say that's just wrong. The bill would never require him to say these things. Bill C-16 is now a law. As far as I know, nobody has ever been forced by it to say the word Z. Regardless, his stance against the bill was very interesting to the media. Peterson was asked onto TVO, onto Steve Pakin's The Agenda. This is a nightly Ontario public television current affairs show, which became the first time that a lot of people ever saw Jordan Peterson.
You've accused him of abusing students by not using the pronouns they want to be addressed by.
That's how I see it, absolutely. Many organizations...
How about violence? Is it tantamount to violence?
Yes,
How about hate speech? Is it tantamount to hate speech?
Yes, of course, it's hate speech.
That controversy and more that followed became kind of a formula for Jordan Peterson. You can chart his progress through his controversies. Every time there's a controversy, he got bigger and stronger. After The Agenda, word got out that his grant request for research money had been denied. And, you know, the media rarely makes it an issue when an academic fails in a grant application. But in this case, Jordan Peterson told the media that he believed this was censorship for his stance against C-16 and other things. And his cause for this grave injustice was taken up by Christy Blatchford of the National Post and also by the rebel media, who not only publicized this, but actually kind of went into business with him. And they crowdsourced almost $200,000 for him.
Oh, thank God. And
so he went into crowdfunding on his own, launching what might now be the most profitable Patreon page in the world. It keeps getting reported as $60,000 per month. And by the way, as we know, Patreon is in US money, but it is almost certainly much higher than that now. He turned off the transparency setting in Patreon that lets the public see how much he's getting, but we see that his Patreon subscriber base has gone up dramatically. So it's unknown if we're talking 70,000 US territory of $1 million Canadian every year. In any event, his next big controversy was, of course, the Lindsay Shepherd incident, which, you know, that's some dumb luck for him, I guess, because this wasn't even a controversy that he instigated. This was when a teaching assistant was, I believe, unfairly reprimanded just for playing one of his videos to her students, but it reflected very well back for him, and he championed her. Every time somebody comes after him or tries to shut down one of his talks, he gets bigger. And it's a business model now.
I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to because it's just so goddamn funny. I can't help but say it. I figured out how to monetize social justice warriors.
That is what it is.
I know, it's so funny. I just can't believe it. It's
the other way.
It just, every time I think that, well, it's just one of the surreal circumstances that characterize my life. It's like I'm driving the social justice activists in Canada mad because if they let me speak, then I get to speak, and then more people support me on Patreon. It's like, that's annoying. It's like, goddamn capitalists make more money off this ideological warfare. It's like, okay, fine, let's go protest them. So they go protest me, and then that goes up on YouTube, and then my Patreon account goes way up. So it's like, they don't know what to do.
Now, the people paying him over $1 million a year, his audience, by his own estimate, is over 80% male. All reasonable indications would suggest that it is also overwhelmingly young and overwhelmingly white. And the persona that he presents, that he markets to these young white men, is almost super heroic. Does that sound like hyperbole, saying that he presents himself as a superhero? No, bucko, this is hyperbole. I'm reading now from his own book bio. Jordan B. Peterson, raised and toughened in the frigid wastelands of northern Alberta, has flown a hammerhead roll
Northern
in
Alberta,
a carbon fiber stunt
from the
plane,
streets.
explored an Arizona meteorite crater with astronauts, built a Native American longhouse on the upper floor of his Toronto
cold
home,
and frigid as
and
your
has been
mum.
inducted into the coastal Pacific Kwakwakiwok tribe. So he's
raised
a
by
pilot,
wolves
he's an
in the
astronaut,
northern
a stunt pilot, he's an honorary
on the
indigenous
Arctic
person.
Circle.
He travels the globe. He's the Dos Equis guy, the most interesting man in the world. He's the dad that you wished you had. He's super dad for a generation that never had good dads, and he's here to tell you
He's the uncle
the
you
rules
wished had
for
molested
life,
you.
the way out of the chaos. And these days, a guy who commands that kind of reverence from that many young, wayward white guys is naturally going to fall under suspicion. So is Jordan Peterson a crypto-Nazi? A closet white power guy? A secret fascist, pretending to be calm and rational? No, that's silly. I don't believe that at all. I think that when you hear Jordan Peterson talking and reasoning and exploring ideas and presenting arguments, I think it's very clear that he is genuine. There is no act. What you see is what you get. However, the guy does have an agenda beyond just sharing his ideas and his advice. It's not a secret one. It's that he wants to sell books. That is no ugly accusation. That is why people with books go on book tours to do book interviews. The thing is, I don't think Peterson is very honest about the way he sells books. Here is what I mean. I want you to take, for example, this post-mortem that he released on his own podcast, in which he looks back at the Channel 4 interview a short time after it exploded. By the way, check out the theme music for the Jordan Peterson podcast.
Welcome to the Jordan B. Peterson podcast.
You can tell right off the bat that you are in for some
It would be funny if it was
stuff.
just like his entrance
Anyhow,
music was.
he has his own
like
fan interview
Ice
him
Cube.
on his own podcast, which I have to say is a time-saving device is brilliant. I didn't know you could just do that. That would make life so much easier.
Natural born
and in
killers.
his interview, he breaks down his epic win. He breaks it down beat by beat.
The talk of the day, man. Your interview with Channel 4, Kathy Newman.
This is a brilliant idea. He has some arse-licking sycophant
like
fucking host the show with him.
A self-propelled train wreck just for half an hour. It just kept on going. It was quite fun. The memes that came out of it were really good.
Mm-hmm. How he outwitted Kathy Newman. How it went viral. How it boosted his book sales.
She laid out a set of ideological presuppositions, two sets actually, her set
And what did I say?
and my
Lobsters.
set. And so she would ask me a question,
So
which
they
wasn't
sell
really
American
a question.
Spirit. I've never
It was
seen them.
A barb with bait
Not in
on the end
mainstream,
of it.
no.
But ultimately, he concludes,
Yeah.
he takes no joy in defeating and humiliating her as he did,
Bollocks.
even though it benefited him so tremendously. He says what he really wants, what he would have preferred.
Can you imagine if I made a video saying,
would
I
have
hate
been
owning
for them
people.
to just
I
have
hate making
an
these videos
actual
where I
conversation. A real
abuse
dialogue.
and fucking...
He says that he still wants that with Kathy
talking
Newman,
out your
and he's
fucking
invited her
arse,
to
mate.
do that. And, like, what he's insisting is that what he wants out of his TV interviews are not epic wins that go viral online, but real, substantive dialogue. And on this, I must call bullshit. Because Peterson is smart, and TV is kind of dumb. That is not what he's after. Doing TV interview after TV interview, it is very predictable. I broke it down for you earlier. He will be challenged or pressed to defend his ideas against a broadcaster who doesn't really know his ideas very well. Sometimes they'll go easy on him, just one or two quote-unquote tough questions, like the Wendy Mesley interview. But every now and then, like the Channel 4 interview, they will really try to make a fool of him. And when that happens, he will trounce them calmly and handily, and his fame will grow.
Lobsters,
That's the business
bitch.
he's chosen. Jordan Peterson has not become an international media superstar without exerting his own agency. I'm sure that he wants to spread his ideas and help people with his advice, but he is working very hard to sell books. And the specific way in which Jordan Peterson sells books and sells his Patreon and sells Jordan Peterson is by having exactly those kinds of viral victories. I mean, think about his YouTube presence. Most of his most popular YouTube videos are not the ones of him doing like 3-hour lectures. No, they are fan-made supercuts with titles like "Those 7 Times Jordan Peterson Went Beast Mode"
Fucking
and
beast mode.
"Jordan Peterson Destroys Transgender Pundit." Conflict and conquest and humiliation is his brand. And his brand, even beyond this book, is what he's selling. And I think that the reason that he is evasive and disingenuous about that fact is because I don't think that it's what he wants to be selling. I think it took him by surprise. His own fame seems to astonish him. Success found him late in his life. His first book, an academic book years ago, the hardcover sold under 500 copies. For many, many years, he was a working psychologist, seeing patients, and a working professor delivering lectures. And he was uploading these YouTube videos for quite a while before anything happened with them. There is no way he could have plotted or predicted that his defiant stance against pronouns would catapult him to fame. And he does not seem very comfortable with that fact. When asked by Wendy Mesley, why are you so famous? To what does he attribute his own phenomenon? Yeah. He said this.
Smoking in the cold, you never know when all the smoke's gone.
Bullshit. Maybe that is what Peterson would like to be famous for, reminding us of great truths in a time of postmodern chaos, telling archetypal stories, but it ain't what he's actually famous for. And that is the one thing Jordan Peterson does not seem to want to analyze very carefully or closely. His own fame. His own brand. But, you know, like, as a rational and intelligent person, he must realize he's famous for saying fuck you to a hypothetical trans person who made a hypothetical demand of him. That's how he got a little bit famous, and every time he scores another victory against another snowflake, weirdo, SJW, media hacker, leftist, he gets more famous. Is that his fault? Is it fair to hold him responsible for his own brand? That is a contentious issue. It's one that infuriates him. The idea that he is responsible for the bad things that his fans do, that he's responsible for the alt-right, that he's responsible for the threats that his fans sent to Kathy Newman. But is he? I actually don't think so. To suggest that he's like some kind of puppet master ringleader who speaks in code and dog whistles, I don't think that that is accurate or fair in the least. And Peterson, to his credit, does not entirely wash his hands for the consequences of his media messages. In the case of Kathy Newman, he told them, back off, leave her alone. So credit where it's due. He did not want her to be harassed or hurt. And, you know, it would be disingenuous for him to say he bears no responsibility for the impact of his media messages, because then he couldn't take responsibility for the good stuff, and he's very quick to do so. He takes a lot of responsibility for the positive impact that he says he's had on the lives of his fans. He claims that he has convinced countless young men to come back from radical extreme groups, to come back from the alt-right, to come back from white nationalist groups. He has broken their spell over them, and he's given these young men purpose. Could be. To some degree, Jordan Peterson is selling self-help. I'm sure that his product works for some people. To some degree, he is Oprah for bros.
That actually is a valid point. I had a mate of mine who had a drug addiction problem, and it was some Jordan Peterson sort of lectures on stuff regarding that actually helped him. Like, he doesn't agree with, like, you know, the politics, like, is like politics and that on various, but like, and he's got this, you know, but he credits him with that, and that's important, because if you get someone, you know, if you can get someone out of a situation like that, then they're going to be sympathetic. They're going to, you know, that's a big thing to credit someone. You know, bropra, that is.
But his fans take from his message something more than just advice for themselves. When Peterson says, "Don't be a victim. Don't cry about how oppressed you are. Sort yourself out." Well, you know, that's good advice for a lot of people to apply to themselves. But it has another implication when people project it outwards. You know, like, if I'm going to take responsibility for myself and I'm going to get over all that victim shit, boo-hoo, poor me, then what about all of these other crybabies who are still crying victim? I want to suggest to you that the underlying appeal of Peterson's message, the real appeal, the one that has proven so compelling around the world, it's something beyond the delicious thrill of watching him drag his pathetic enemies. Beyond the perhaps more wholesome and positive value he brings, helping you get your shit together, it's something else entirely. It is that he is preaching a philosophy that excuses you from giving a shit about other people.
Yes.
And he is encouraging you to detest anyone who asks for anything. And let me be clear. I am not saying that his fans warp his message, that they take it upon themselves to use his self-help message and weaponize it against other people. I'm saying he actively encourages them to do this through his own words and through his own behavior.
You might be noticing that the LGBT set of acronyms keeps growing, eh? It's kind of a form
I'm with
of its
him on
own
that.
parody.
Gay people need to back
I'm
the
oppressed.
fuck off.
It's like, yeah, you are. And, well, I'm impressed
You
too.
know,
Yeah,
you've got
you're
7
also
letters of the
oppressed.
alphabet.
Maybe
That's
I'm
over.
even impressing you, being part of this other marginalized group, but at least we share our oppression. Well,
I'm
also
kidding.
oppressed. Well, so am I. I'm oppressed too. It's like, okay, so here's a problem. There's a big problem here. The problem is, it's true. You're oppressed, you're oppressed, you're oppressed. God only knows why. Maybe you're too short, or you're not as beautiful as you could be, or, you know, your grandparent was a serf, likely, because almost everybody's great-grandparent was, you know, and you're not as smart as you could be, and you have a sick relative, and you have your own physical problems, and it's like, frankly, you're a mess. And the entire sum of human history has conspired to produce victimized you with all your individual pathological problems. It's like, yes, true. Well, so what do you do in the face of that
I'm grateful for the
suffering?
audience I've got.
Try
and
to reduce it. Start with yourself. What good are you? Get yourself together, for Christ's sake, so that when your father dies, you're not whining away in a corner, and you can help plan the funeral.
Oh, yes.
And you can stand up
When your dad
solidly so
dies,
that
get the
people can
fuck
rely
over
on
it.
you. That's better.
Bury
Don't
the
be
fuck
a damn
up.
victim. Of course you're a victim.
Start digging a hole and move
Jesus,
on.
Obviously. How do you overcome the suffering of life? Is be a better person.
Nah.
Have queer people ever faced oppression that they could not overcome simply by improving themselves? The answer to oppression is to improve yourself. Not allowed to vote?
The problem with
yourself.
gay people is they're bad,
Enslaved?
but they're inherently
Improve
evil.
yourself. These are historical examples of oppression, but they were not overcome through self-help. Women got the right to vote, and black people got desegregation, and queer people got basic human rights, and
Political
workers got
correctness
the
gone
minimum
mad.
wage, and we all got weekends by fighting. As groups, as self-identified groups, through identity politics, by fighting for social justice. But in Peterson's universe, that kind of oppression, the kind that can only be overcome through social justice campaigns, it just doesn't exist for him. And anyone who would fight for social justice now, a social justice warrior, well, the ones we have now are whiners, and they are filled and motivated by jealousy and rage. And it's not just that they are disgusting and reprehensible.
They're just bored now.
It's that they're dangerous to you.
And you can bloody well be sure that as we implement social policy to make sure that all outcomes are equal, that the amount of space that you personally are going to have to maneuver in is going to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. We've already seen that happen in
Eventually,
many societies.
fellas, you're going to be judged
Guys,
based on
they're
merit.
coming for your space. The leftists, the
Who the fuck-
SJWs,
Who the fuck wants
the
that?
feminists, the whiners. So, what are you going to do about it? This is Peterson's true appeal. This is why he's so famous. Not only does he excuse you from being a nice guy, you don't have to play along and act like you care about every group's complaints anymore, but you do need to be afraid. And you need to fight back. Or tomorrow, you might actually be a victim, a real one too, not a whiny pretend victim, so you need to shut them down. Remember Lindsay Shepherd, Vicky Machama, former co-host of Canadaland Commons, currently a Metro columnist, she was on a CBC TV show. She tried to make a point on the CBC, and that was a point about the idea of white privilege. You know, like when Masuma Khan, the student at Dalhousie University, when she was unfairly censured by her university for her unpopular speech, the free speech warriors, they didn't say a thing. None of them defended her.
I think a lot of people responded to her for the same reasons they tend to respond to things, which is that she's a young, crying white girl. But there are lots of moments in which the academic
Yes, but no one takes
conversation
Stephen
could have been
Molyneux
had
seriously.
and has
He's
been
not an
skipped over
academic.
serially, and I don't think that she's the appropriate person to have launched this conversation.
But when there was a young crying white girl, Lindsay Shepherd, the free speech warriors got very loud,
he never had that credibility.
Like one of the biggest stories of the year. Now, look, you could disagree with that argument, and that's fine, but that is what Vicky was saying when she referred to Shepherd as a young, crying white girl. She wasn't saying, look at this terrible girl, all crying and white. I deride her, in part on the basis of her white skin. She was saying that race played a role in the public's response, and Peterson attacked her for it. He accused Vicky Machama of promoting racism, of rising the rate of racism in Canada by 1 or 2 percentage points. Racism against
by 2
whites.
Racisms.
The example that he set was clear.
2 cubic hectares of racism.
Push back, or your space will shrink and shrink and shrink. So is Jordan Peterson preparing his base for the coming race war? I do not think so. My read of him is that he is actually terrified of what he started. Nobody is more surprised than he is by his fame. But he took the bargain. He ain't no U of T prof anymore. He is on sabbatical after basically declaring war on his own institution, if not on the academic world itself. You can't go home after that. He needs his Patreon now. He needs the next epic win viral video humiliation. He has cast his lot with his mob.
Yeah.
Is he driving them?
Yeah, it's called Canada Land.
Or are they driving him? Even he is not so sure. But he does seem to understand that whatever he's unleashed has a mind of its own.
And so I have this immense multimedia platform, and I don't know exactly what to do with it. I mean, what I'm doing right now with it is making videos that I think are useful to people, interviewing people that I think are interesting to talk to. But I'm sort of shaping this as it's developing because there's no way of predicting it. And the overwhelming likelihood, as far as I'm concerned, and it's been this way ever since September of 2016, is that this will go terribly wrong. That's the most likely outcome. I've known that ever since I made those videos.
What do you mean by that? How would it go wrong?
Well, things go wrong all the time. You know, I say
but
something.
What are you afraid of?
Saying something inappropriate.
Well, you've said lots of things that have made people angry.
Don't
That's
worry,
not
Jordan.
the same thing.
So why would you say something inappropriate?
Because people make mistakes. And so, like, I've been in a situation, I would say, for 15 months, really, where I'm speaking publicly and I've been in front of the news media a lot, and people are waiting. Well, they're waiting with things like this to say, look, well, you made a mistake here. It's like, yeah, well, I've done like 10,000 things in the last year, and maybe I made a mistake.
Did you?
No, I don't think I made a mistake. No. It's too much, eh? That's the thing. It's been too much for a long time, but so far so good, and I'll write it out as well as I can. But I'm surfing 100-foot wave, and generally what happens if you do that is that you drown. There's a reasonable possibility that things are going to go very wrong very soon. For who? For all of us. For all of us.
One thing Peterson says
He's
he's afraid
fucker,
of
isn't
is
he?
saying the wrong thing. He should be worried about that. Because though he claims that he considers his words very, very carefully, the guy says some wacky stuff.
That's when he's not
His
considering
mode,
his
again,
words.
is live exploration, free association, long, detailed spiels where he thinks out loud. And here he is doing that with Camille Paglia, suggesting that civil discourse between men and women is basically impossible because civil discourse can only exist if both parties
Because
respect each other.
bitches be crazy,
And
man.
that respect can only occur if there is a threat of violence should civil parameters be transgressed. And since men can't hit women for cultural reasons, well, we can't really respect them either. And we certainly can't have a civil discourse with them. And if that seems like I'm, yet another media hack twisting his words, why don't I let him explain it to you himself? Because it's actually more extreme than how I had it.
Here's the problem. I know how to stand up to a man who's unfairly trespassing against me. And the reason I know that is because the parameters for my resistance are quite well defined, which is we talk, we argue, we push.
So basically, all we need to do is
physical.
get Brock
Right,
Lesnar to argue in favour of social justice, and then
we know what the next step is.
he'll shut the
that's
fuck up.
Forbidden in discourse with women, and so I don't think that men can control crazy women. I really don't believe it. I think that they have to throw their hands up in in what? In it's not even disbelief. It's that the cultural, there's no step forward that you can take under those circumstances.
Be crazy.
Because if the man is offensive enough and crazy enough, the reaction becomes physical right away, or at least the threat is there. And when men are talking to each other in any serious manner, that underlying threat of physicality is always there, especially if it's a real conversation. And
no, he's not saying you have to hit people. He's saying because the threat is there, it self-regulates.
Fight with you under any circumstances whatsoever, then you're talking to someone to whom you have absolutely no respect.
And here he is freestyling, trying to figure out why on earth it is that feminist women would support radical Islamists. I'm actually not aware of any feminists who do. I think perhaps he's thinking of feminists who stand up for women who wear the burqa or the niqab. Anyhow, here's how Peterson reasons it out.
The feminists, it's got to be because Muslims right now are higher up on the victim hierarchy than them. So even if it's way over there, they're not allowed to speak out against it.
I think it's their unconscious wish for brutal male domination.
I don't think so.
Well, here's the thing. If what he's saying is true, then why would you've got to argue then that kind of means that discourse, online discourse like we have on YouTube or the internet in general would have no effect, because there's no, it doesn't matter who you're talking to. If you know, I could be talking to the biggest double-hard bastard who could kick my ass, which is most people, but if I know they're fucking 6,000 miles away, you know, I mean, Christ, I've started fucking, you know, I mean, you know, even people who live in the same country as me, you know, like, you know, who could get on a train and be outside my fucking front door in an hour, you know, it would have it would render this medium completely and utterly useless, and that's clearly not true, you know.
I like that. That's fun.
Jordan Peterson is not ready for prime time. It's one thing for a guy like this to lecture psych students and to put some wild ideas out there for the consideration of curious young minds. But for him to be feeding the reductive meme machine and providing the intellectual underpinning for a growing international throng of angry young white men is terrifying. And here I will make a totally subjective inference or two about his character, as it presents itself in his copious media materials. I don't know the man personally. So these observations are very subjective, but I think they're accurate. Peterson seems like a very angry guy. He presents as dark and brooding. He can usually be found grimacing, scowling, humorless, grim. When he opens up his mind and lets you watch it wander,
he should have been entertainment officer on the Titanic.
It goes to some frightening places. His worldview is harsh.
Bollocks is it,
He invokes the devil and hell with frequency. He sneers at his ideological enemies with sheer disgust. More people are listening to him than ever. They take him deadly seriously. And on this point, I agree with him 100%.
This is significant.
It's not going to end well.
Nope. Yeah. This is a couple of years old. I mean, this was when did this one come out? This was 2000. Yes, it was 2018. Yes, it needed 2 years ago. So you know. I'm scared I might make a mistake. I don't know. Don't take too many drugs, Jordan. I mean, you say you're not sympathetic to Nazis, but why is your wife a skinhead? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, it hasn't crashed yet, you know. He's had his own, you know, he's had too many of his own problems, you know. I'm always curious. I find it curious that a guy who's a Christian would write a book called 12 Rules for Life. I'm like, didn't somebody already do that? Like, aren't there already like a list of sort of rules for life that, you know, you lot already fucking believe in. I mean, doesn't the Bible got that pretty much covered? You know, and even God only had 10 of them, and you've written 12, and now you've done a second one. I mean, you know, how up your own arse do you have to fucking be? But hey, what do I know? You know. Yeah, see, even God, yeah, but I mean, you know, that's padding, isn't it? You can't have, you know... Even God understood that, you know, if you're going to have a list, you've got to have 10, you know. You've got to have at least 10, because that's just, you know... People like a 10, you know. Even God understood the nature of clickbait, you know. And he kept them short, you know. Moses was able to carve them in stone. That's how fucking, you know. On just one big sheet, you know, one big slab of stone, you know. I don't pay much attention to like PewDiePie, but I thought it was quite funny when like I saw like PewDiePie bought he like posted a picture of him like holding up, he just bought like Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life, and I'm like, motherfucker, you made $26 million last year. I think you've won at life. What the fuck do you need to get out of this? You know? Jesus, I mean, Jesus Christ, how much more do you need to fuck, you know, how much more do you need to win at life? Well, I mean, well, if nothing, this is one thing I said about Trump. If there's one thing you know, you can look at Donald Trump and you know, you can. There's a man who proves beyond any doubt that money just does not make you happy. Because I've never seen a more miserable, fucking, sad, tragic-looking sack of shit in my fucking life. You know. Yeah, I mean, all he's got to do is play video games and pretend to be scared, pretend to be fucking, and you know, and overreact to everything. You know, that's all you've got to do. It's a pretty fucking. It's not just how miserable he is, it's how fucking, it's how desperate he is to fucking prove to everyone else how how miserable he isn't. And it's like, no one asked you, motherfucker. Yeah, you know. But you know, that's the. Oh no, it's not hard to imagine. Well, I mean, it's hard to look at him and believe that that's a human being. You know, I mean, saying that, have you seen his family? Like his dad, his mum, his kids. They haven't got that. There's not one of them that is pointing in the right fucking direction. You know. They're the most irregular fucking, you know. They're the most irregular, weird fucking shaped, odd-looking bunch of motherfuckers. You know. Yes, but it's, you know what? That's the thing that people have got to be careful of. One, it's not. There's not going to be another Donald Trump. It's the next guy who's worked out right. That's what Donald Trump did, and he did that without really. He did that kind of without trying. You know, the next guy who comes along is going to be Donald Trump with a brain. You know. You know. You know, and that's the other, as I said before, the other thing that's quite impressive is he's the first person to ever become president by mistake. You know. You know, which is quite, I mean, if I told you that I accidentally ran the London Marathon or swam the English Channel or climbed Mount Everest, you wouldn't believe me. You know. Well, yeah, in a way, but I mean, but at the same time, it's like, you know. But again, you just wouldn't. But if someone said, you thought, how can you achieve something that impressive and that outrageous and not try it? No one would believe you. You know. I do hate all the, but I do find it fucking laughable that there's actually this debate and discussion going on about, you know, should Trump have been banned from... I'm like, oh, fuck off. Christ almighty. You know. What do you have to do? It begs the, if you don't ban him from Twitter now, like, it begs the question, what the fuck do you have to do? You know. And all these stupid arguments people make about, oh, it'll turn him into a martyr. He already is one. You know? It just plays into his game. What, so he should get special treatment because he happens to be someone who's going, yeah, it's going to be... No, it's like either the rules apply to people or they don't. You know, and let's face it, if Trump was a geezer with 50 followers, he'd have been banned years ago. You know? Yeah, no, it was always one of the things, wasn't it? They used to say, like, in America, anyone can be president. And I think one thing we've learned in the last 4 years is that's not actually a good thing. Maybe that's not, maybe that, you know, maybe we should change that, you know. Maybe we should have a stricter criteria than just anyone. But that's kind of the sort of weird thing about, like, electing. I mean, any job you go for, like, when you go for any job, whether it doesn't matter whether you're fucking gonna be, you know, a cleaner in McDonald's or a fucking, you know, a dishwasher, or you're going to be a CEO. You're interviewed and based on your performance by people who understand and know the job. And yet the people we put in charge of the country, that's decided for by people, the vast majority of whom don't have a fucking clue what, have no idea what the fuck, most people in this country wouldn't fucking, most people who vote don't know that's why we make bad decisions, that's why we elect fucking, that's why we elect people who are fucking incompetent, because it's the one job where it's like, the people who decide are the people who don't actually have the first clue about as to what the job is or entails. Yeah. And I'm not making an anti-democracy argument here. I'm just saying that's the fucking facts, Imagine if every other job was decided in that fucking, yeah, you lie, but eventually, if you fucking, if they find out you're lying or you can't do the job, they'll get rid of you sharpish. And again, that's, But imagine if every other job, imagine if the fucking CEO of Apple was decided by an election, or or Microsoft or News Corp, But at the same time, I think there are certain positions where it's like it's impossible to. I mean, look, I've got my YouTube channel, even at its peak. I mean, I haven't. There was I've lost count of how many nervous and emotional breakdowns I've had just uploading YouTube videos to to an audience of people who choose to watch me. And keeping, and trying to maintain that. Imagine if you were in charge of a country with 320 million, and you're told, right, your job is to keep as many people. You've got to make decisions that are going to make the majority of people in this country, happy. I mean, it's fucking impossible. That's how you should decide an election, right? All the candidates have YouTube channels. And they all upload videos. Whoever gets the most fucking, whoever has the top two most subscribers, they're the ones that are going to fucking do it. And whoever gets the most popular videos based on likes and views and they're the ones that can have it. I couldn't grow a beard when I was 25. This is now it grows at a fucking It's like the Santa Claus, just. Yeah, man, it's not a big deal, I did say that I wasn't gonna shave for a year, just to. I do miss having my big beard, we're all soy boys. Yeah, but according to who? You know, an insult, you know, a slur is only as fucking, you know, hurtful, you know, based on who's you know, who's calling you it. And if, you know, if the people calling you a soy boy are fucking people like Paul Joseph Watson, then I can't think of a higher compliment, quite frankly. I always say this. It's like I say this to people who like try and, you know, when people who dislike me try and hurt my feelings by sort of like they comment on my stand-up videos and go, oh, you're not funny. I'm like, you know, it's like, you know, if you really wanted to hurt my feelings, you would sit there and tell me, oh, this is brilliant, I love it, because that would really fucking, that would make me go, fuck. If this dopey piece of shit likes this, then clearly I'm fucking, you know, I'm doing something wrong. I need to reevaluate it. You know, that would give me an existential crisis. But of course they won't do that because they, you know, because they don't understand, you know. Well, the thing is, if you tell, you know, that's the thing is, like, if you tell these people, you know, just be honest with them, saying, like, if you want to upset or offend me, say this, and because you've told them to do it, they won't do it because they don't want to come up, they won't do anything that you tell them because they won't believe you, they won't believe, you know, and they don't want to come across as you know, and if they do it, that means they're now fucking doing what you tell them to, you know. It's like when Tommy Robinson fans tried dropping my docs last, back in 2019, and they got the address wrong, and I corrected them. I said, actually, it's I live at 54, not 50. They didn't believe me because they didn't believe I would give them the right address. I'm like, no, you know, even though I was telling them the truth. I'm like, motherfucker, that's the fucking address for the Turkish barbers 4 doors down, you know. And believe me, the last place you know, a load of Tommy Robinson fans want to turn up is a fucking Turkish, is a barber shop full of Turkish geezers armed with fucking razor blades. I'm pretty sure, you know, I'll be sat on my windowsill with a bag of popcorn watching that, you know. Well, no, you won't accidentally. The thing is, like, if you you know, the thing about art is, like, if you just keep it, you know, if you don't, you know, just, you know, if you're being sincere and you're smart enough to know, you know, and you're being honest, then it won't ever be a problem, you know. You know. But if you're the kind of person, you know, and just be conscious of stuff, you know, and if you're, you know, And if you see people, you know, twisting, you know, a lot of times it's not a case of like attracting that. It's a case of these people, they don't give a fuck. They just see that there's opposition. You know, they just see that, oh, you know, this comedian's upset this group of people on the left, so we're going to defend them, whether we like them or not. You know. It doesn't matter whether you're dumb. You know. You know, it's like recently Frankie Boyle criticised Ricky Gervais for being, you know, because you know, he felt that his jokes about, you know, his jokes about people who are transgender in his last show were very lazy, and not very, you know, very lazy and obvious, which they were, and everyone jumped and started calling Frankie Boyle a hypocrite, saying, well, you do jokes about just, you know, cancer and anal rape and disabled people. It's like he wasn't accusing him of that. He wasn't having a go at Ricky Gervais for doing jokes that were controversial. He said he was being lazy, you know, which he was. I mean, like it was a, you know, that's a completely different fucking thing, you know. No, Leaf sounds familiar. Yeah. You're a long-time fan. Oh, are you really? Stop showing off. Stop flexing. Thing is, though, even it's not even. The thing is, though, you know, internet long term. Well, the thing is that I've been on the internet long enough now that it's a long time in real world, or even or in internet years. You know, I think 12 years is a long time in anyone's. You know, the Confederacy only lasted 4. 12 years, that's about as long as the Nazis lasted. I think that should count as long enough. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, yeah, and in all fairness, I haven't achieved as much as the Nazis did. Yeah. Hitler definitely killed more Jews than I've managed, you know. But I haven't really been trying as hard, you know. Very out of context. I don't think there is a good time to... Yeah. I don't think there is a good time you can just walk into my fucking, you know. I mean, quite frankly, I'm amazed, you know, that more trolls don't just watch my live stream. I mean, there's literally about, you know, I think every other sentence you could fucking clip and fucking... You could share around and go, yeah. You know, I mean, how long have I been going now? I've had like I've had one fucking troll in the entire, you know, all evening. Yeah. Do I still do my podcast? No, I've recently, you know, started doing. Well, I mean, I've done. You know, I've been. I'm going to be doing some recording today, but I'm doing a new one. But I haven't done the left wing propaganda podcast for I think last year. I think about a year now was when I did the last one of that. But I started a new one that I'm doing with a friend of mine called Danny, who has a YouTube channel, but she hasn't uploaded any videos yet. But it's called The Adventures of Dick Man and They Hulk. and it's primarily based upon me and her reading these random fucking PDF and text documents that have been uploaded to the website Scribed, which is, you know, just an endless... No, couldn't sleep. Nope. Apparently not. No. But we only did one. We did like one sort of pilot episode last year that was like, but it was like 4.5 hours long. It was back in November. But this afternoon we're going to be uploading. Well, that's her bloody problem, you know. Why would you live in a... You know, just make another account, dude. You know, dude, how many times have I been banned from it? You know, I mean, even fucking... I haven't uploaded it as like I haven't uploaded it to any podcast platforms yet. But like I said, we did the one episode last year that was just like a pilot, and also, you know, sort of an introduction to sort of like, you know, sort of introducing Danny to everyone, because nobody knows who she is. But it's like she's like 27 years old, millennial, pansexual, you know, non-binary, fucking, you know, multicolour haired, you know, young person, and I'm like a, you know, a 41-year-old white cisgender heterosexual male, Gen Xer. So I thought that would be a good dynamic to have. Yeah. I mean, because I thought it would be interesting to try and do something with someone else, So that's uber sad. What, you've never dyed your hair? Okay, that's uber sad. Okay, I can live with that. "41. Yes, I know. I know my Justin Bieber-like boyish good looks belie that fact, but. Well, I can't. I can't offer you any tips because there's literally no reason why I don't. Thing is, I've looked like this. I've looked. When I was younger, I looked. I pretty much looked like shit. As I've got older, I've progressively looked better, but it's only because I haven't actually changed. I looked base. This is what I looked like when I was 18, and this isn't fun to look when you're 18. This is a good 40 odd. When you look 40, this is fine. This is a good. This is But I've sort of looked like shit, from the age of 18 till now, This is why I've been fucking around with my hair a lot more in the last few years, because I'm like, I don't know why I've still, I'm enjoying it while it's still there. By right, shouldn't be there. Shouldn't have any teeth either. Should weigh about 300 pounds more than I do. I should have a voice box and a hole in my neck. That doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, my dad, when my dad was my age, his hair was very, very visibly thinning. So again, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm not bothered about having hair. I've had a shaved head and I've shaved myself bald loads of times, so it's not a. It's not really an issue. It's but you look like a Klingon. Yeah. It's basically a bald bloke with a Cornish pasty stuck to your. Yeah. That was a fancy dress party once. So I just stuck a Cornish pasty on my head and went to a party as a Klingon because I couldn't find a costume. Yeah. Which sparked this debate, saying like in the world of Star Trek, would sticking a Cornish pasty on your head be the like Klingon equivalent of like pulling your eyes back for an Asian person? Would it be? Would that be considered, you know? Well, it depends. I mean, baldness affects. Like, you know, I knew there's one guy I knew at college who literally, like, he was 17 years old, and like, you know, he was, you know, his fucking hairline started back. You know, he had like. He already, you know, he was already going. You know, some people it happens too quickly. You know, it's. I think it's more to do. I think the bigger issue is not whether you go bald. It's to do. It's how you. It's the like. Do you go bald? Like, do you just recede gradually? And does it mean, or do you? Are you one of those fuckers like Zinedine Zidane? Like you get the monk, where like you just go bald from the centre outwards, and you end up with that the outline of a normal haircut with no hair in the middle. You know. Well, it's because I mean, you know, it's having hair is a, you know, I don't think they stress about it. It's just, you know, people would rather have hair or than not. You know, you don't have many options when you. Also depends on the shape of your head. You know. Yes, but I mean, they're pubic. Yeah, but you don't have as many. Yeah, but that just makes no sense to me whatsoever. Like, you know, because you have to have. First of all, who wants their pubic hairs on their head? Because that's gross. Secondly, also you'd have to have an area of. You'd have to have an area, a pubic hair area that covers your head. Or a head small enough, you know. It's one of the mysteries of life. Is like, you know, for all the brilliant things that man has been able to achieve, we still cannot somehow make a toupee that is in any way convincing and doesn't make. And doesn't just look absolutely fucking ridiculous, you know. Yeah, we can go to the fucking moon. We can travel at the speed of fucking sound. We can send a fucking car to Mars, you know. Can't get a toupee that, you know, looks in any way vaguely convincing, you know. Yeah, but going grey, you can still look, you know, you still got your hair. You can still dye your hair, can't you? You know. And plus nowadays it's even easier because people like, you know, a few years ago, you know, having, you know, people started dyeing their hair fucking grey or white, didn't they? You know. Yeah, but he's William Shatner, you know. You know, he looks like shit, you know, already, you know. Because, you know, particularly if you're aware of what William Shatner used to look like, and you look now and go, motherfucker did not age well, you know. Not everyone. It depends. I mean, like, you know, some people are like my mate. Like he doesn't like the idea of losing his hair bothers him because when you get rid of, like, it's because he's got very sticky out ears, you know, and he's got until, but you don't notice it until like he's got no hair on his side. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean, I can only think of a few. The only one that springs to mind is, you know, as a bald guy who has worn hair pieces, and you know, is Bruce Willis. That's it. Yeah, but Bruce Willis is one of those few examples of a white guy who actually wears bald quite well. You know. At least off the top of my head. I'm like, yeah, but that's Vin Diesel. No, yeah, but Vin Diesel's always been bald. You know. Thing is, when you start going, you know, it's like sometimes you get a case of like, you know, your hairline recedes a bit, but then it stays. It doesn't move at all for like another 20 years. You know. You know. Sometimes it just sort of like goes back, and you know. Sometimes it sort of goes up below there, and then it sort of just stays there, and then doesn't do fuck all for you, you know. I mean, having a shaved head is you know, you'll look fine with a shaved head. It's just people have got to get used to it. You know, that's it. So I watch Quinton reviews. No, I know who Quinton is, but I don't watch his content. Yeah. I mean, here's the silly thing about worrying about being bald. How many times do you see a bald man walking down the street, or you encounter one, and you don't think about it, you know? However, if you see a geezer with a bad wig, or one of those cunts who's doing the old fucking, you know, doing the old fucking 3 strands of hair over the old comb over, you immediately go, look at this fucking guy, and you fucking join in, and you encourage people to harangue and fucking abuse the, you know. It stands out like a sore thumb, you know. You see a bald bloke, no one ever fucking, you know. I know Trump takes the comb over to a ridiculous extreme. He's got like a fucking quadruple fucking comb. He's got like some origami shit going on there, yeah. He doesn't look bald at all. He doesn't look fucking human. I mean, he doesn't look... He looks like a fucking space hopper that's, you know, partially deflated, that's been filled with Vaseline and has got a heart condition, you know. Yeah. I mean, unless they're proper, unless they're fat in that way, where it's just like, you know, where they've got, you can see their belly hanging over underneath their belt line. Yeah, yeah. You know, or their chin, chest, and stomach goes all the way down. It's like capital D. You know. You know, the kind of fat that gets you a sort of special, you know, a Discovery Channel special 1 hour documentary. I find his inability to walk down a slight incline hilarious, and I think that's because he spends all his time fucking like leaning forward with his chest stuck out there. If he goes down a slight angle, he's gonna fall fucking flat on his ass, you know. He's gonna bangarang all the way down a fucking, you know, down to the bottom, you know. Which I think could be used to, you know, as a great. I had an idea. If you want to get rid of Trump, just like when he's asleep, like attach a hoverboard to his feet, and like padlock him in, and then when he stands up, he'll naturally lean forward, and it will just go and just point him towards the nearest coastline and say, "See you later," you know, and he'll just keep going, you know. Pipe bomb. Do these pipe bombs have Acme written on them? You know, were they like spherical with like a little? I mean, that's when you know you're dealing with fucking absolute tossers, innit? When you forget to bring your Molotov cocktails, you know. He probably drunk half of them before he fucking got there. Did they have timers, or did they just have a clock attached to them, you know? I'm sure there will, but they guess what? The second time they don't tend to have as much luck. After the first one, you know, they don't have to be hard to. They're not hard to operate. They're quite easy, you know. Mine took me about when I first got on a hoverboard. It took me about about 20 minutes, get the hang of it, you know. I've got some. I mean, some segues. Some of this. I've got other segue devices that are very hard. I've got the unicycle, the mono wheel, which is just like a single wheel with 2 bits of plastic either side that you have to, and it's not self-balancing. You have to. That thing is like, if I ever feel like killing myself again, I'm just going to go out on that for 15 minutes. If I'm not dead within quarter of an hour, I'm going to fucking get me money back. I've also got like Segway hover skates, which don't go very fast, but that's like having a separate hoverboard on each foot, and they are so sensitive. But the hoverboard itself is is relatively easy, I thought I thing I like about is that when the Segway first came out, like the initial one that had like the fucking handlebars and that, the whole thing was about how it was almost impossible to fall off this thing, and like whereas most things get safe, like this Segway has actually gradually got more dangerous. Like they've thought, how can we make this more lethal, My hoverboard's the shit, man. I've got the go-kart conversion for it. That is much more fun than a hoverboard. It's just a plastic seat. You strap it to the fucking hoverboard, and it's got 2 levers. It's got a metal butt bar in the middle with 1 wheel at the front, and you just push it forward, and these things fucking take off. And particularly the hoverboard I've got is particularly fucking, is the most powerful hoverboard you can buy. I got it from Germany. This motherfucker does 35 miles an hour. Right. It's the first hoverboard that's ever been made that's technically road legal. It's got indicators, brake lights, I wear padding. I don't. I wear it. When I don't wear a helmet, I only wear a helmet if I'm planning on doing something on my longboard that I'm actually that is a step up in terms of risk. I will wear a helmet. But I do have, I wear all my padding. I wear my armor-plated leggings and my fucking. I wear my gloves and I wear my fucking elbow pads. To be honest, the speed you're going at the speed you get up to on these on particularly on the longboard, you get to a point. You're at a point. It's like, this is these helmets. It's just a bit of. It's basically a piece of polystyrene with plastic around it. It's like, I'm gonna, it doesn't matter. And some of the speeds you can get up to, it's like, it doesn't matter what I've got on me. I could wrap my fucking head in dark matter. There comes a point, it's like, I mean, the knee pads are essentially, because the amount of times I've just slipped off and landed on my knees. These things are fucking. There was one time I came off, I fucking slid off board, and I literally jumped forward and landed both my knees first on the concrete, but I had my pads, but I had these on, and it just got straight back up. I'm like, they've just paid for themselves. You're right there, you know. Has it got a number plate? No. You wouldn't need to. I don't ride it on the road, you know. I have no desire to ride it on the road. No, dude, you're literally sat about an inch off the ground. Like, like you don't want to fuck, you know. It's much more fun just to go bombing round a park or around a car park, or you know. Well, the thing is, I got a scooter that can do 40 miles an hour, but I technically, you know, but I was able to get round having to get a license or fucking register it by having it as a mobility scooter. And all you've got to do is like make sure that you only ever, when you're on the pavement, you only ride it at, no, you don't go any faster than 8 kilometers an hour, because that's the max speed you can go on the pavement. But the second no one's looking, you just fucking get on the road and you're off. If you see a gap, if you see the old bill, just fucking get on the mobility scooter officer. Yeah. Yes, I'm a legal spastic. Leave me alone. Yeah. No, it can be road. No, you can, you know, use it on the road. It is road legal. I'm just saying it doesn't. But I'm not, you know, using it on the road. I don't use it on the road, you know. I mean, it's a two-wheel. You know, I don't even know what vehicle it would classify as. You know. I mean, this might just apply in Germany. That's where I got it from. And I was the first person outside of Germany to ever buy one of these fucking things. I know that because all of the instruction manuals and literature that came with it were all in German, with no fucking translations in any other language. Well, that's where you're from. Well, like I said, I'm not riding it on the road. I don't, you know, I wouldn't want to. There's no point. It doesn't fucking, you know, the only sort of disadvantage with a lot of these electrical things is they're a lot of fun to ride. But I mean, if you want to go, you know, saying that the unicycle, the mono wheels, those things, you can get some of those things can go up to 45 miles an hour. Why anyone would want to, you know, I have no idea. You'd have to literally be clinically fucking insane, you know. Florida. Because even Texans need someone to point and laugh at. No, dude, they don't. Yeah, but they don't. This every fucking thing, every device you get, even fucking skateboards and scooters and bike. They come with a thing saying, you know, this is only for riding on private land. No policeman is ever gonna gives a shit. I've literally ridden all of my devices on the pavement and past cop. They don't give a shit. You know. I can't think of one example since, you know, they all say this on the literature, but everyone does it. How many people do you see riding skateboard? If you see anyone on a regular skateboard, they're technically not allowed to ride that. You know, literally anywhere. You know, but they fucking do. Because what's the point in arresting someone for riding a skateboard? You know. I'm pretty sure that hoverboard goes faster than most police issue fucking diesel Vauxhall Astra diesels. And that's a bigger humiliation for the coppers, outrun by a fucking two-wheeled hoverboard with a fucking commode strap to it, you know. No, I'm not saying. Listen, mate. I'm not saying that hasn't happened to you. I'm just saying it doesn't happen over here. It never happens over here. You know, I'm sure. I'm sorry that, you know. I'm sure there are many examples of some uptight cozzer who's arrested some geezer for being on a fucking skateboard on the pavement, but the vast majority of the time they don't fucking give a shit. You know. As long as you're not fucking, you know, as long as you're clearly not, you know, generally what they, you know, if you, when skateboarders get in trouble is when they start doing shit off. I know, and I'm sure they do, and I'm not denying that. I'm just saying for the vast majority of the time they don't. You know, the thing that generally tends to get skateboarders in trouble is when they start trying to fucking do stuff on, like, you know, on like trying to do grinds and tricks on stairways and on railings and shit, where they're, you know, or they're trying to go down, they're trying to do bits and pieces that could potentially cause them harm. But if there's just a geezer going down the fucking, you know, there are skateboarders fucking, you know, I see there are kids on scooters and people on skateboards and fucking roller skates going on the pavement all the time. You know, I'm not denying, don't fucking get defensive, I'm not denying that, you know. But it just doesn't. But for the most part, it just doesn't fucking happen. You know. Obviously, the old Bill in my area are a bit more chill. Well, to be fair, I mean, the thing is, you know, skateboarders. One thing about skateboarders is they, you know, they are, you know, and it's just part of the mentality of, like, you know, if they're going to do something, they'll do it, and, you know, they'll be like, you know, they're like, no, you know, we've decided we're going to try this, so you can keep telling us not to. You know, the second your back's turned, we're going to be right back here, because that's what they're like, you know. Hey, Lewis. I was literally I've been waiting for you all night, you know, literally about 8 hours. You know. I know I didn't text you back. Yeah. It's all right, Lewis. You know, don't worry, mate. No. you know, the thing I'm trying to master at the moment is what's called pumping the board, which is basically where it's basically it stops you having to push off, but it's a way of sort of, you know, moving on the longboard that keeps it, you know, keeps its momentum going, and actually allows you to you can actually you don't have to keep pushing off or kicking off, you know. And it's really fucking difficult. And you basically end up just standing on the board completely still, just going, come on, you fucking prick, you know. Well, the board I'm trying to do it on is, I'm actually trying to do it on this one, which is a board sort of designed for this. This is what's called a surf skate. And if you can see that truck there, and the way that works is, like, you know, unlike, it isn't just got the truck, it's got this, it goes like that. Which means when you sort of, when you tilt, you can tilt right up, the board can go right up. And this is designed like by surfers, so in order for people who like surfing to be the truck is that bit. That's the truck. These are the wheels. That's the truck. And then you've got the bearings inside the wheels, which are the things that keep it spinning. And usually the trucks look like that. And you loosen the trucks there, and the looser they are, the fucking more they bend, the more they sway. And in general, people tend to like, you know, the truck's a bit looser, because the more you lean, the more sort of like extra control you have. You know, if you're doing something where you're going to be going at high speed, you want to tighten them up. But like I said, normally it's just that one truck there, but this has got this extra attachment here. And it was designed so that people who like surfing can actually continue surfing while, you know, if they can't sort of, if it's not in season, or they don't want to go, you know, or the weather's shit, they can still be in dry land and practice, because it's got more of that feel. Yeah. A luge kind of thing. Well, I mean, I've seen there are giant, but there's ones you can get that literally, it's like basically like, but it's like a giant skateboard that you stand on with your feet. You know, you don't stand on it like, you know, sideways. You stand with your feet, and it's like you push off with a stick. I can't remember what they're called now, but they're literally like, it's like a sort of gondola. You know, you're on your back. Oh, I've seen loads of ones like that. I mean, thing is though, if you're going to do that, you might as well just get a fucking, you know, you might as well just lay on your longboard. Do they let me go out skating? Well, I've gone outside skating, you know. I don't see, you know. You know, I mean, I'm not hurting anyone. So, you know, you don't have to worry about social distancing. If I get too close, I'll probably be going about 25 miles an hour past you. You know. Considering my life expectancy decreases like by 5 years to every extra mile per hour I'm going on these fucking things, you know, COVID is the least of my worries. You got told off for going on. How did they know you'd gone on more than one walk? Yeah. And also, I don't tend to go out you know, I don't really tend to go out during the day, and believe it or not, Market Harbour, you know, is not a place that's just got fucking gathers just roaming the fucking streets. You know, last time I saw a policeman, actually, it was when I was out a couple of weeks ago, and it was about 2 a.m. and I was just sort of like, you know, I was by my front door, and he was just making, you know, checking. He was just asking, like, he's like, "You're right, mate." I'm like, "Yeah, I live here. I'm just going out." But he was like, you know, just bored. And I guess he didn't see the merit in arresting a geezer for being by his front door whilst holding a skateboard. You know. Like I said, I tend to sort of, you know, I found that wearing my, you know, that's why I wear my scary masks, because, you know, they tend to sort of keep people at their distance. You know, they tend to sort of take a wide berth, and they can't stop me wearing it. You know, it's a face mask. Doesn't say which type of face mask it has to be. Mm-hmm. Oh yes, no one in Australia has ever grassed anyone up. That's what happens when you have an entire country founded by criminals. The last time you lot got grassed off, your fucking ancestors got sent there. You wouldn't be living in that country if it weren't for people grassing you up. Snitching created your entire civilization, fucker. Oh bollocks! Listen, there's one thing that we learn from all of these fucking gangster stories, from all of these like all of these gangsters and all of these stories, is they all end up snitching on each other in the end. There's no honour amongst these fuckers. More often than not, it's the geezers who are at the top who are the fucking informants. You know, that's why they never get nicked, but all the geezers working for them do. You know, what absolute twaddle. You know, so there's no honour amongst these fuckers. They'll sell themselves out of. They sell everyone out eventually. If it'll knock fucking 20 years off their sentence. Yeah. You know. Even if they're not snitching, I mean, even the Krays, fucking, I mean, you know, one of the reasons the Krays never got nicked for as long as they did is because they were paying policemen off. It's not they have no morals. They have no morals. It's just that when your back's against the wall, you tend to get, you know, this idea that there's some sort of, you know, honour or nobility amongst them. It's like, no, if you're threatened with a life in prison, and you're going to get, you know, and they say, like, right, if we, you know, you'll get a lighter sentence, or, you know, if you fucking grass everyone up, then it'll be like, yeah, fuck them, you know. And then nobody does anything about that shit anyway, you know. You remember when what's his name, that rapper? What's his name? The geezer with a stupid haircut and the fucking rainbow, you know, the tattoo on his face. Takeshi 6ix9ine. Like, he was done for being a snitch, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's finished, man. When he gets out, he had a fucking #1 hit with Nicki Minaj with it a week after he got released. And fuck all's happened to him. These people are full of shit. You know. Hey, you know. And they were saying about this guy, oh, we're gonna, you know, they might have to put him in witness protection. I'm like, he's got his name tattooed on his face. You can't put him in witness protection. I think they'll spot him, you know. Yeah. It just, you know, it just seems it's a bit of all hype to me, you know. Yeah, but they all end up getting it in the end. I mean, it's like, you know, I'm not saying everyone snitches, but eventually it's like, you know, they all collapse, these criminal empires, and it's usually because they fucking, you know, look at any fucking, you know, look at all these gangster films that are based on true stories, like, you know, Goodfellas, Casino. They all end up grassing each other up, you know. Even the people who aren't gangsters, you know, like, you know, these fuckers in Wall Street and all these other people, they all end up grassing their mates up. Someone's going to cave eventually. They fucking do make films about successful criminals, you know. It depends what you mean successful. I mean, they're successful for a time, but, you know. Like I said, a lot of, you know, so many cases you got the places where the geezers who are at the top of the fucking, they're the ones who are the informants, you know. That's why they never get fucking done, you know. Yeah, but you're just assuming that those people exist. Yeah, but you can't prove those fuckers exist. That's like, you know, that's one of those statistics you'll never fucking get. You know. You know, you'll never get fucking. You'll never have data on. You're just assuming those people. You know. It's like that jokes Doug Stanhope does about, you know, they talk about air rage caused by alcohol. He's like, okay, how much air rage is prevented because of alcohol? You don't get statistics on that, you know. Yeah, but you can't be a solo gangster, can you? That's kind of a... I mean, by definition, if you're going to be a gangster, you can't be a... That's like calling... It's like in that movie Airheads. Those geezers call themselves the Lone Rangers. Yeah, but that's even harder, you know. You know, not everyone could be, you know, even Kaiser Soze had to work with people, you know. And how successful can you be, you know, with, you know... How many crimes can you feasibly do without it, you know, just on your own? Without any, you know, you can't rob, you know, you can't rob banks. You can't fucking, you know, you can't fucking, you know. I suppose you could say some people like, you know, like Bernie Madoff, or people who do Ponzi schemes or shit like that. But even then, it's like, you know. Why would I want to be a thief? Well, it's very easy, very convenient and easy way of getting stuff for free, you know. I never said I wanted to be a thief. Yeah. Like, do you want stuff? Do you want stuff for free? You know? Yeah, okay. Yeah, just nick it. Okay. Yeah. No, it's not. Drug dealing ain't solo. You've got to have your suppliers. You've got your end users. You know. You know. You've got your manufacturers. You've got a fucking whole chain of fucking command with drug dealing. There's no drug dealer that works solo. Unless they manufacture and distribute and fucking sell on their own. In which case they're probably not going to be able to sell, you know, and sell it on their own. But, you know, they're never going to fucking... They're going to be constantly fucking, you know, they're never, you know, you're never going to be able to hide that from anyone, you know. You might own a bar that's an independent, that's not part of a chain or part of a system, but you still got you still got to buy, you know, all the companies you've got to buy the alcohol from. You've still got the customers you've got to sell it to. They exaggerate. I'm not talking about TV. Who the fuck? What, are you telling me that you know, I do know how the drug fucking trade works, my friend. That's a fact. Are you telling me that people who fucking, you know, you could sell drugs on your own with zero fucking contact or of anyone knowing who the fuck you were? No, you've got fucking, it's like any other business. You know? It's like any other fucking, it's like any other corporation. There's a fucking chain of, you know, that's got bugger all to do with, you know, TV. You know? It is, isn't it? You know. Well, it's not actually. When you think about it, I mean, that's the sort of thing about, you know, how many people do you know who have had a crime committed against them who then contact the police and fuck all happens? I mean, if the fire brigade had the fucking success rate or failure rate that the police do, you might as well just fucking stand there and watch your house burn down. You know. You know. You know, if hospitals had the fucking, you know, had the same success rate as the police, you just wouldn't bother. You know, you just, I'll take my own chance. I'll take my chances. You know, you wouldn't bother. You know. Bless her, mate. Yeah. This is why they very rarely make TV shows about your average fucking policeman, because it would just be them turning up at a victim's house, going, right, well, we'll file a report about it, but we'll be in touch in about a month, to let you know that we haven't done fuck all about it, That's why all the TV shows are things like fucking, detectives who go after serial killers, or fucking, shit like, or it's fucking action movies like, extreme terrorists, it's people like John McClane or Luther or shit like that, because that's the only form of policing that's actually interesting or exciting. The rest of it is just them sort of, is just, we're looking for a mammalian biped, wearing clothes, who was in this vicinity, who was seen in this vicinity about 12 hours ago, Suspect is hatless. Repeat, hatless. It's not. I mean, unless they've got something obvious like that, suspect has a tattoo on his face of a swastika made out of penises. And 5 legs. It's like, this is how it's like whenever someone goes missing, whenever some child goes missing, or someone goes missing, they'll have the fucking parents, on a press conference crying, going, if you're out there, love, get in touch. And you're sitting there thinking, he's fucking done it. He did it, guaranteed, The police are there going, we should continue to arrest the wrong people until we realise it's him, That's my favourite thing police say when they're looking for a criminal who's done something. Like, they always go, now this man knows who he is. I'm like, brilliant, right? So he's conscious. He's a sentient being who's conscious and self-aware. That narrows it down. Of course, that's one of the most depressing, particularly with these things, all these these one of the most consistent fucking things that happens. You watch all these documentaries about these fucking celebrities who were serial fucking sex offenders for decades. The most consistent thing is how fucking Ian Watkins, Jimmy Savile, R. Kelly, fucking all of these pricks. It's like, it's always the same thing. It's always like, oh, the police knew about it 20 years ago, but they were told constantly about it, but they just didn't. They couldn't be asked, I mean, even with Ian Watkins. I mean, Ian Watkins was raping children as young as 6 months old. And the police were told about it years before he was fucking finally arrested. And they said they didn't, and one of the things, they even admitted they didn't arrest him because they didn't want it to ruin his music career. I'm like, fuck off. It's the Lost Prophets, for God's sake. It's not even like they're a fucking decent band. You know? It ain't worth this, you know? R. Kelly was banging 14-year-olds, mate. He got a 14-year-old girl pregnant and then tried to marry her. And that was the first case. I never said R. Kelly and Ian Watkins were the same, did I? But don't try and say that, you know, one's better, if you want to sit here and argue one's better than the other, okay, you know. Cancer of the left bollock is better than cancer of the left and right bollock. But the girl he fucking pissed on in that video wasn't 18. Neither was the 15-year-old girl he made her do lesbian porn with for his own amusement. You know. Let's not die on that hill. By the are they that fucking Mongolian metal band? Yeah, I'm not, you know, overly familiar with them. But I've listened to a couple of tracks. Yeah, you know. Oh dear, I've heard of neither of them. I like, you know, Gawky Zygotic Monkey, and she was 18 in the. No, she wasn't. I'm sorry, mate. You're wrong. Just because it's still on the internet doesn't make it right. There's lots of shit on the internet I can find. It doesn't mean it's suddenly fucking legal. Don't worry, don't worry, officer. There's videos of this video still exists on the internet. Oh, thank God. That's okay then. What website is it on? Statutoryrape.com. Oh, okay. I wouldn't want to. Yes, they are. Believe it or not, mate. I'm going to shock you here, Left Lucy. There are lots of websites on the internet that will happily upload content that, believe it or not, is not fucking legal. Particularly if it's pornography. It's one of the unfortunate fucking consequences of the internet. I'm not talking about minor discrepancies, like I don't believe that woman's an actual nurse. If she had basic understanding of health and hygiene, she wouldn't be doing that in a fucking surgery. No, I don't mean stuff like that, you know. Yeah, but you know, not just porn sites. I mean, you know, they've been fucking, you know, most of the fucking, you know, most of the, like, you know, the most popular fucking, you know, social media sites have had to fucking, he gets paid every time Surviving R. Kelly is watched. He doesn't. He does not. R. Kelly is not. Do you know what? I'm pretty sure he could have done without it, if that's even true. What the fucking hell are you talking about? Yes, R. Kelly was behind. R. Kelly was the mate. You know, was totally fucking pleased with that. He was all behind. Let's have a 6-hour documentary series explaining how, in graphic detail, how he's been grooming and young girls as young as 14 for the last 30 years. Brilliant promotion. It doesn't do him no good if he's in fucking Nick, though, does it? Jesus, I'm not even having this fucking argument. I've been up all pissed at night. Fuck off. Just fuck off. Fucking hell. I'll give you credit. I didn't see that one coming. You know, this is the first time I've encountered someone who's actually tried to argue that Surviving R. Kelly was some kind of fucking promotion. Yeah, it's doing him the world of good, isn't it? It must be convincing, considering his own daughter fucking denounced him. I mean, if your own kid is convinced by it, it must be bloody good. That was original. That was. I mean, let's face it, if your first defence of anyone is, well, they're not as bad, you know, yeah, but I mean, his victims were older than Ian Watkins. I mean, you'd have to be literally knobbing a fetus that's still in a pregnant woman. You'd have to be doing the fucking newborn porn scene from Serbian film. I don't want to cleanse myself. I want to bathe in. I'm going to fucking. I've been in this. I've been at the bottom of the cesspit that is the fucking internet for long enough. I'm staying here. The bog of eternal stench that is. He makes money. Well, I hope he enjoys having that money. He couldn't even afford his own bail. Like literally, there was like a fucking like a load of fans put money in to get his bail money. He couldn't afford that. So thank God they brought this fucking documentary, you know. If that turns out to be true, you know, it's like, I'll give R. Kelly credit. That is a fucking bold strategy, Cotton, and I hope it pays off. But I'll be honest, I'm going to look that up after I finish this. When I finally fucking end this stream, I'm going to look that, you know, I'm going to go on Google and I'm going to fucking look up, is there anyone else? Yeah. Because, you know, it's very rare that I can't think of any occasion when I've come across a conspiracy theory that only one nutter fucking believes. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory until there's at least 2 people who fucking believe it. Nothing. I've got nothing. I've got nothing. I shouldn't be. I mean, nothing should surprise me anymore. But in a way, you know, I'm kind of glad it does. I'm glad that no matter what happens, every week, at least once, I'll be, I'll be reminded that I can't be desensitized to this. I don't want to be. I don't want to get to a point where someone makes that kind of argument and I go, yeah, whatever. It's your opinion, you know. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, you know. Even R. Kelly, if R. Kelly could if I could tell, you know, I want to write this down and send this. Have you seen what this fucking nutter in my chat room thinks? And he'd probably piss himself laughter. Of course, it's made no difference. I mean, we don't need. I mean, pornography. We don't need any porn. You know, none of it needs to fucking exist. You know? If they stopped making porn but never told you, you'd never get to the end. It's impossible. You know. You know. I mean, in 2007, the statistic was for every every half hour in America alone, every 30 minutes, 4 new porn films are fucking created. So half an hour, if your average film was say 2 hours long, by the time you get to the end of one, there's fucking 16 more. It's like fucking, it's like chucking a mogwai into a fucking washing machine. How do they have a hard-on with kids? Well, that's because you're not a paedophile, mate. They don't manage it. It's not like they're trying to challenge themselves, you know. It's not like they're bored and thinking, you know what, I'm going to try and jack off to something, you know. It's a mental fucking defect, you know. You know, and you should be glad you don't fucking get it. Because if you did get it, guess what? You'd be one too. That's the only way you can get it. Yeah. In 1996, a questionnaire was asked of, a government survey described exactly what a paedophile was and asked every British male whether he thought he was one. A staggering 96% said yes. I mean, this has got to a point. Even the Daily Mail would think this is gone too far, you know. Well, tough fucking shit, say I. Yeah. Listen, mate, I have an hard enough time keeping my fucking YouTube videos up. I'm not going to start busting a blood vessel over people who've had their amateur porn videos taken down off Pornhub unfairly because it was falsely fucking labelled or flagged as child pornography. Tough fucking shit, say I. I spent, I've had videos removed that I spent 2 years fucking making. Of course, 96% was a joke. For fuck's sake, Give me strength. Hold on, I need to stand up and walk around. I don't believe this is... I fell asleep an hour ago and I'm imagining this, ain't I? This ain't real. I'm going to wake up any minute now. I'm having a lucid dream. Zombie, this is not a fucking cause. If you want to fucking go and champion this, you go for it. Good luck to you, my friend. I'm not fucking... But, you know... But there's a million and one other things I can think of to fucking... to sort out before this fucking thing, you know. Your Twitter is full of porn because you follow porn accounts. Ah, that old trick, eh? Yeah. A likely story. Yeah. Well, if there's one thing that men, you know, I mean, historically, pornography in the way that we think of it, like as you know, as far as you know, videos, videos and movies, you know, it's existed for a fucking fraction of human existence. I mean, and men have managed to fucking, you know, there's never been a time when men have struggled to fucking knock one out. They've all. You know, we've always managed to, even cavemen, they didn't have like, you know, they didn't have OnlyFans or fucking, you know, or Brazzers or fucking... What am I talking about? Right, this is God's way saying, Richard, get out now. And you know what? I'm gonna go. You know, I'm gonna go because I don't want to know. If I stay on here too long, this is gonna degenerate further. And I'm a bit curious, you know, but not enough that I think it. You know. See, if this was the start of the last 8 hours of live streaming. Then I'd be like, right, let's go for this. Let's dive balls first into this fucking abyss. You know. Well, I don't think emotionally I can fucking deal with it. You know, so probably best I'm not on the. Although I'm not actually stopping the show. I'm letting it continue. I'm just dragging this out. I've got a little, you know, there's a little devil on my shoulder going, no, go on. Keep going. And then there's the angel on this side going, yes. Carry on. You know. You're interested in this topic. What? Child pornography. Apart from menopause and low testosterone. I don't fucking know. Why are you coming to me for this? Do I look like a geezer with any fucking knowledge or understanding of fucking... Yeah? There's 1,000,001 fucking people out there you could probably have put, you know, you could, off the top of your head, think of that would be more appropriate to ask than me. I don't care about Pornhub deleting fucking videos, zombie. Shut the fuck up. Or I'll be sending you the therapist bill. You paid for brazzers and they swindling bastards. These pornographers, it's almost like they've got... They're shameless at times, aren't they, you know? It's like, have you got no decency, sir? I was swindled out of $40 by the company known as Dog Fart Pornography. Yeah. I must say I have dealt with the, you know, cum-guzzling sluthores.com before, and I've always found them to be very, very reliable. But this, I'm telling you now, I will be giving you a very, very stern online review. There's just too much shit going on here, you know. Why do you all come in at once? Why is this the subject that's fucking broken people? You know. The R. Kelly denier was enough, you know. The R. Kelly truther. It was What if you have been released from jail and asked by the government to do these videos as a punishment? Believe me, I don't think there's a crime I could have committed in my lifetime that would be as heinous as being forced to do this against my will. Right? The government don't have that much fucking imagination. You know? If anything, they should be paying me, because I feel like a lot of times when I'm reading this chat that I'm actually an involuntary social worker. You know, these live streams often feel like, you know that scene in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest where they all sneak out of the asylum and get on a bus and go fishing. It's like that. I'm R.P. McMurphy jumping on the bus, and you lot are the fucking spackos in the fucking who I've smuggled out, and we're fishing in the middle of a fucking. You know, that's what this is. You know. You're here for solidarity. We've got enough of that. We've got enough. Look, listen. If you've got solidarity, give it to Universal. He sounds like it's something. He sounds like keeping things solid is something he's got problems with. Right? Hey, how am I looking, Eddie? Hey, Eddie, how do I look? You use your eyeballs, don't you? Ah, yes, right, eyeballs, right. How do you feel? I get my hands and go like this. Oh, really? Oh, for fuck's sake, I don't like brazzers. Oh, fucking hell. You know, this is what, do you remember a few years ago there was this bullshit fucking story going around that the UK government was going to fucking ban pornography. This is what I was one of the few people going, yes, do it now. Right? It's gone too far. This is an intervention. And this is fucking why. Because literally the last 20 minutes of my life, right? This is a fucking... This didn't need to fucking happen. It's easy for... Look, pornography and loneliness... Not everyone who jacks off to porn are fucking lonely, you know. They're not essential. It's not like porn of the Smiths of the fucking movie world. Still up, I see. Yeah, not for like how, I don't know. Trust me, John, you don't want to know what the... Whatever you do, do not scroll back the last half hour of this fucking live stream. It will destroy, you know, if you've got any faith in humanity, or any hope of regaining any, it will be fucking crushed. Like a newborn baby, like a newborn mouse under a fucking hydraulic press. Just gone, you know, like a blancmange in a fucking ceiling fan, obliterated. Mate, if you're lonely, you don't need pornography. Do you know what you need? You need a friend. No, a Serbian film was fiction, right? Everything that's happened in here, this is not the work of a creative, perverse mind. This is people who, you know, this is why freedom of speech should be fucking curtailed at all cost. This is why cancel culture needs to go. It doesn't need to stop. It needs to go. It needs to step it up a notch. All of you are cancelled. Everyone, even people who aren't here. I'm cancelling my audience. Right? You know, you can stay subscribed, but don't watch my videos. Everyone, all 20 people, or 19 people that are in here. Someone just snuck out. I saw you, whoever the fuck you were. I'll find you. I'll find you, and I will fucking make sure you will. You know, you ain't getting away with this. I will track you down. Fucking, you know, tie you to a chair, cut your eyelids off, and leave you facing the sun on a hot Arizona afternoon. I fucking swear to Christ. No one, you know, none of you are safe. You know, I'm handing this fucking live stream footage over to the fucking FBI. Scotland, everyone. Scotland Yard. I'm just going to fucking send USBs to all the major police state. You know, these fuckers. I'm copy pasting this chat. Otherwise, no one who isn't here will believe that this is real. I don't believe it's real. Eating your muesli. Don't. You know? Do you remember 15 minutes ago when I said I was going to end this? Yeah. I still ain't done anything, have I? Yeah. Well, do you know what? I'm going to. Right. No, not yet. It wasn't R. Kelly. It was an R. Kelly denier. It was an R. Kelly defender. You know. Makes you curious. What? Don't. That's how they get you. That's how they get you with this shit. They make something so fucking horrific and and indescribably horrible, and then they say, "Don't watch it. You don't want to watch it," and that just makes you want to fucking watch it more. Don't fall for it. Don't play their game. Run. Get out of here. I'm gonna block you just for your own good. Right? Delete your account. Run away. No, I'm joking. You tried to make it, but you didn't try hard. Well, I'm sorry, Mary. I was struggling to keep up. Even Alex Jones would be, this is fucking dumb bullshit. R. Kelly is, what the fuck is this shit? You know, I'm out. You think I'm gonna? You know, this is the dumbest shit I have read in the last 20 years. Right? I am not. You know, do you think I'm gonna put my credibility on the line for this fucking whore? R. Kelly actually is making money and was behind the entire documentary that exposed him as a sex offender. Well, okay, fuck it. No, he wouldn't. He'd tie it to George Soros and fucking Hillary Clinton and fucking that pizza parlour. And some other, you know, it was actually Antifa. Antifa all along. It was a white guy in blackface jacking off. It was a black guy from Antifa jacking off over Milo Yiannopoulos in blackface. That's what it was. "38 degrees. See what you've done? You've made Spiker Home post a comment that is actually the most sane thing I've read in the last 45 fucking minutes. That's the level. You lot should be ashamed. You know. Oh, fuck the algorithm. The algorithm? Dude, fuck the YouTube. Dude, this is beyond even the YouTube algorithm is like, you know what, I'm not going near this one. You know, even I don't know, you know. We haven't got a fucking terms of service that covers the violation that this fucking live stream is committed. I don't know, you know. Have I got a load of fog? No. I mean, it's grey and wet. You know, it's miserable, cold and wet. Yeah. 2 out of 3 Ben Shapiros, you know. The Germans can't say anything silly. Fucking I think we in this room are the last people who should be criticising anyone for saying stuff that's silly. Do you know what the fucked up thing is? In about 18 months' time, right? That R. Kelly conspiracy is going to be a mainstream. Like when his trial gets going, right? As it goes on, I guarantee you that's going to catch on, and I'm going to be there going, I was there, I heard that, I know the motherfucker who started that. I was there, I heard it fucking first. Right. And people will be making fucking videos about that and getting 18 million views. And then he'll probably run for president and win. Your laptop just crashed. It's because we said talking about R. Kelly so much. Yeah. It's a natural reaction now. I assume something dodgy must be going on. I mean, even in the first trial where R. Kelly got off, I mean, it was like he was found to have on 27 counts of child pornography on his computer. Now, you can explain away someone maybe having one item. You know, bearing in mind that even artwork can classify it as child, you know. Possibly even 2. But 27? Yeah. Yes, that's the problem with R. Kelly having child pornography, is his songs, you know, it really fucking... I've always wondered why R. Kelly is shit, and now I understand. It's because he's a fucking nonce. Yeah, Pete Townsend got away with that. How did he manage that? What research were you doing? Well, you know, I was researching... okay. Could you just not, you know, imagine it? You know, did you have to actually... What research were you doing? You know, what did this research involve? Well, it involved me Googling child pornography and then watching it. Right. For research purposes. You couldn't just watch normal pornography and pretend, well, it's basically that, but with a child. You know, no. Yeah, what was it research for? Yeah. Yeah, that deaf, dumb and blind kid, yes. That's what he was talking about. I once played a deaf, dumb and blind kid at pinball. He was fucking shit. Didn't have a clue what he was doing. It's a load of bollocks, that song. I fucking thrashed him. Yeah, but how do we know? Because the woman wrote a blog afterwards. And she wasn't even fucking bothered. It wasn't even like an expose. She was like, no, I don't care. And everyone kicked up a fuss. I'm like, well, he's dead now. What the fuck do you want us to do about it? It's kind of difficult to get upset now. Can you imagine being the poor bastard who had to be the second geezer to shag that woman when you're starting with David Bowie? Yeah, but Savile and David Bowie not really in the same league, are they? You know. Why is there a direct correlation between being a successful musician and entertainer and shagging kids? What is the correlation? You know, it seems that they're inevitable. Yeah. Say what you want about Morrissey. At least he's never... Yeah, that's the best thing you can say about Morrissey. For all the horrible shit all the horrible shit he's fucking said, and for all the fucking bollocks that man speaks, at least he hasn't raped any kids. You know. I mean, that's the level we're at. You know. Of course, you can get away with more if you're famous. That's not really the point. You know. I'm sure there are lots of people there are lots of paedophiles out there who aren't very talented, who are not good at very good musicians. You know, that is besides the point. For all we know, they could have been if they tried. They were just, you know. Pedophilia. Oh, could you at least spell it correctly? Yeah, well, I just think that's because they weren't cool enough. I mean, you know. The Chuckle Brothers spit roasting a kid. To me, to you, to me, to me. Too obvious, I know, but you know. Jesus Christ on a fucking cracker. We have reached a new low here. You know. And I still haven't ended the show. That was about 45 minutes ago now. Like my finger is hovering over the fucking end stream button. But it's just The speller spells worse than completely made up word that doesn't exist. Okay. Right. We can sink way lower. Oh, I know. I have no doubt. I'm pretty sure R. Kelly. I'm pretty sure those were all the same conversation. Bestiality next. Right, that's it. We're going. Bye bye.